Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. My name's Rory and today I want to go through my entire wedding filmmaking kit for 2022. So for those of you who are new to the channel, my name's Rory and I run a filmmaking and photography company in Tasmania, Australia called RJ Visuals, and I'm pretty successful. I do it full time, so this is my full-time gig. I made a video like this about a year ago, going through all of the filmmaking gear that I used in the last wedding season, but a lot of that has changed. So I thought that I'd just go through it all again and explain why I've added a few more things in, and hopefully you guys can find it useful, and if you do, maybe some of this gear might be for you. I will mention at the start, I'm going to leave a bunch of links to all the gear that I use down below. They are affiliate links. I will get something if you use those links, and I do appreciate it if you do use them as well. So yeah, with that, let's just jump straight into it. So just to give you a bit of an idea of the types of weddings that I film, my sort of weddings are normally the bigger, more elegant style ones with maybe 100 to 200 guests. So I do film some smaller elopement-y type weddings, but my focus is normally on the bigger ones. So I do need a lot of equipment to film these, and I need to have very good quality equipment as well, because my focus is definitely on quality over price. So I'm not cheap. I'm certainly one of the more expensive videographers in my area, but that's because of the years of experience that I have, as well as the equipment that I use and being able to keep it at a really, really high quality. So I'm going to start with the stuff that I actually use to record the visuals to begin with. Then I'll go over the audio equipment that I use. I'll go over stabilization and the lighting, and finally the bags that I use to carry everything around in. So I'll start with the cameras. The weddings that I'm filming, I'm primarily using the Panasonic Lumix S5. I have 3 of these. I've got 2 on the bench here, and this camera is also recording with the S5 as well, and I love this camera. I actually just bought my 3rd one this year, even 2 years after it's been released. It's still an amazing camera. To be able to record in proper Vlog 10-bit, 4K 60, you can even record up to 5.9K with the Atomos Ninja. So I love this camera. It does everything that I need it to. The autofocus is actually not bad. This video now is actually being shot entirely with autofocus. So yeah, it's a really sturdy camera. It can take a beating. There are a lot of lens options for it now, and I just trust it. I know exactly what I'm going to get when I use it. So yeah, it's in my bag all the time. Then the lenses that I use. The first lens is on the table here. It's actually the Panasonic 20-40-70, which he's filming on right now. I'm finding myself using that lens less and less though as time goes on, mainly because of the weight of it. Having to carry that around all day is becoming a bit of a pain. So I've mainly switched to using primes for probably 95% of the day. The primes that I'm normally on are these 2 here. So I have the 85mm 1.8 from Panasonic, and this is probably my favorite lens. I love this lens. I love the depth of field you get with it. I love the compression. I love the bokeh. It's a great video lens. It's also a really good photo lens. But yeah, that one is on one camera for the whole day. The other one that I really enjoy using is the 35mm 1.8 as well. That one is on the other camera pretty much for the whole day as well, and I actually carry those with me on a strap, which I'll show you in a bit. But yeah, I just love being able to include a little bit more of the environment around you, be able to tell a little bit more of a story with the lens, to be able to show like your beautiful surroundings, nature, lakes, things like that. So those are the 2 lenses that I'm using most of the time. I do also have the 50mm prime, and I have been using this one more and more. I haven't been using it before because when I record 4K 60 with a 35, I get close to a 50mm equivalent. But this season I've been starting to shoot more at 24 and 30p because I want to kind of challenge myself and get out of the habit of using slow motion. So to be able to have the 50mm in there as well, it gives you a good range of shots, especially when you have a second shooter with you as well. And what I would normally do then is I would normally put the 35 on a gimbal. I would give the 85 to the second shooter on a monopod, and then I'd have this on my hip so that I could shoot some tight ones if I wanted to. The next lens that I use is actually a Canon lens with a EF to L mount adapter on it, and that is the Canon 70-200. This is actually the Mark I edition. It is image stabilized, but Basically, this gets taken out for the speeches and maybe the ceremony if I'm really far away. Other than that, it sits in the bag the whole time. I'm considering changing to the Panasonic one now that I'm doing a little bit more wedding photography, but this does the job perfectly fine. The focus is actually quite nice. So when you're on a tripod and you're focusing on a static subject like the speeches, it's perfectly fine. And at 2.8, it gives you a really nice depth of field, especially when you zoomed right in at 200. Onto the front of the lenses, I don't always use an ND filter, but when I do, I go for the Peter McKinnon variable ND. This is the original one, not the mist one. I just find that it doesn't give you a lot of color cast. They're bloody expensive, but they do exactly what they say they're going to do on the box. So yeah, I do use that one if I have to be using an ND, although I do tend to crank the shutter at weddings because there's not a lot of movement, so you don't need to get that motion blur in there because it's not going to be in there regardless. So for drones, I am still using the DJI Air 2S. It's more than enough for shooting weddings, given that a wedding film is only going to have maybe, 10-15 seconds of drone footage in at max. I don't see the need to upgrade to something like the Mavic 3. I actually think that the new Mini 3 would actually be a really good drone to get for weddings. And if this one ever dies, then I probably will get that one, just because it's smaller, it takes up less room in your bag, and it would be more than suitable for shooting weddings. But yeah, for the moment, this is all that I need. And finally, in terms of the video side of things, I've got the Atomos Ninja V. Now, the Atomos Ninja V allows you to record 5.9K at 30 frames a second on the Panasonic S5. I've started using this season. I'm going to use it more and more in weddings, I think. Recording RAW gives you a lot more flexibility in post. And yeah, I'll experiment with it. If it becomes a pain in the ass and it's too hard to use, then I'll probably ditch it. But I have been using a small HD monitor on my main camera during the day last season, mainly just to have that bigger screen so that you can see what's going on a little bit better. So it's not that big a step up to using something like this. It adds a little bit more weight, but not by a huge amount. Cool, so the next thing that I'll talk to you about is my audio gear. Now, when it comes to wedding films, audio, I would argue, is more important than the video side of things. You can make mistakes with video and be perfectly fine to still use things that are moving in and out of focus a little bit. But once you start making mistakes with audio, it becomes the video almost unwatchable. So I've spent a lot of money making sure that I've got really good audio equipment. It's basically split into 3 categories. You've got the on-camera audio, which I'm still using the old Rode, what are they? The Rode Video Micros. Just for ambient noise during bridal prep. During the ceremony, I'll have these on 2 of my tripod cameras, and the same during the speeches. The tripod cameras will have these on them, mainly to get room noise, audio, ambient audio, crowd reactions, that sort of thing. They're really good. They give you really good quality, especially in the Panasonic S5 cameras, although you do need to turn the gain on the S5 right down because they have very, very hot preamps in them. But yeah, so that's what I'm using just for B-roll shots and things like that. For lav mics, I actually am using the Rode Wireless 2 Go. I've got one of them on me right now, which is recording to that camera, but I've got 2 sets of these. During the ceremony, I'll have one on the groom, and with the groom's one, I will actually attach it using these Rycote undercovers. Now, the Rycote undercovers, basically, I've got one attached just here. As you can, if I can get that off. As you can see, they've got a sticky part here and the felt part over the top. So normally you put the sticky part onto the lav mic, which you attach to the jacket, and then you just kind of push the felt over the top, and that stops the rustling noise if it's rubbing against the shirt. And it means you can hide it, so it's not going to be in all the photos and videos. I find that I get really good quality out of that. The lav mic that's on it is just Rode's Lavalier Go microphone. I've got a few of those. I find them really good quality for the price. You definitely can get better quality ones, but you're going to be spending $500 or $600, and the quality jump I don't think is that great. The quality jump I can actually fix in post anyway. And then I've got like the wind covers and things like that in there as well. I've got the Zoom H1N, which I carry with me in, like, say they've got like a string quartet or something like that, I'll just throw that on the ground in front of the string quartet, and that way you can get some like really good audio of that, which you can use in the film, or if there's like an acoustic guitarist, or even if like they're doing their speeches on the podium and I don't trust the DJ audio, I'll actually just pop this on the podium as well, and it generally picks it up pretty well. It's a nice backup to have. I wouldn't rely on this as my sole audio source, but it's a really good backup. And with audio, backup is definitely key. Gaff tape is actually a really good audio accessory, just in terms of like putting cords and stuff out of the way if they're in somebody's way. And finally, taking a line out of a DJ's board or a celebrant's PA system, I use the Zoom F6. If I was to get this now, I'd probably actually get the Zoom F3, just because it's a lot cheaper and it does basically the same thing. But this is a 32-bit line level audio recorder. I carry it in this bag, which also has in it the cord that I use, and I've got a nice long 3-meter cord, mainly because sometimes you need to plug into either a speaker that's quite up high, or they put the PA really high and you don't just want to have your audio recorder dangling. And I've got a lot of these little attachments because you never know whether it's going to be a XLR output or a 1/4 inch or a 3.5mm jack, so or even an RCA. So you need to make sure that you have the equipment with you to plug into whatever is there. Don't rely on the DJ helping you out because they've got the equipment that they need. They're not bringing the equipment that you need. But yeah, I find that the audio out of this is really good. I wouldn't rely on a DJ feed always being good though. I've had instances even when using this that you might get like ground noise coming through because the DJ's equipment isn't grounded properly, or like they're playing music in the background, or they've added a ton of reverb to the speeches. And I mean, when you get issues like that happening, there's really not much you can do about it. So that's when you need to have your backups handy, either having a lavalier mic on the speech giver or the H1N on the podium where they're giving the speeches, but just something as a backup. Like I'll actually even strap one of my wireless Go's to the handheld microphone, and that is like just a nice little backup as well. The only problem with that is that you do get a lot of the room noise in it as well. All right, next up, let's talk about lighting. Now, during a wedding, I will use lights during the speeches and then again during the dancing. And the main light that I love to use for that is the Aperture 60X. This is bicolor, so you can use it to match the room, or you can use it to contrast the light in the room. They don't advertise it as a Fresnel light, but it is a Fresnel light, which means that you can spot it on the speech givers, and you can actually set it really, really far away, so it's not in anybody's way, and you can set it way up high on a light stand so it's over the top of everybody. Or you can flood it for the dance floor, which is actually really handy because it actually has a really nice wide flood, so you can have it actually quite close to the dance floor, because oftentimes you can't get it really far away from the dance floor. And I just normally put a V-mount battery in here. I use a big 150 watt hour one, so it lasts pretty much the whole night. And yeah, I move it around as I need to, and it pretty much serves 99% of the lighting needs that I have. The other 1% is served by this little guy here, and this is a Torch LED, the 250 watt version. I actually used to run 2 of these as my only wedding lights, and they served me really well for a really long time. But say if you just want to run around quickly and you want to get like a shot of the cake in the dark or something like that, you can actually just take this with you. You can hold it off to the side while you're filming something, and you can get some nice shape on the light without blinding or dragging this thing around and blinding everybody with it while you're doing it. And if you've got a second shooter, even better, because like during the dancing, you can get them to stand off to the side holding it, and you can get really good, nice shape on the light no matter where you are. And that all sits nicely in this little Aperture bag, which is actually a great little bag. It carries all of my lighting gear that I need, so I just bring that into the ceremony and set it up when I get there, into the reception, and then set it up when I get there. So the next thing on the list is stabilization. For the lights, I actually use this Cupo light stand, and I really like this because when you put it down, if it works, when you put it down, it actually just pushes the legs out on its own. So you can actually move it from place to place really quickly. And I've put a little small rig V-mount adapter on that. because I do like to, obviously the light has a V-mount adapter on it and I put a V-mount battery on that. I actually throw a second V-mount battery on there as well, just in case the first V-mount battery runs out of juice during the reception. It's easy for me to just pull the plug and put it straight into the next V-mount battery. It takes me 2 seconds to do. Yeah, I obviously put a sandbag on this at a reception. Don't ever trust a light stand without a sandbag or it's just asking for trouble. The next bit of stabilization is the gimbal. I'm still using the DJI Ronin RS2. I think that it's a great gimbal. I think that it still works really well and it will probably serve me really well for a few more years to come. It doesn't really do anything that I don't need it to. One thing I wish it did, I wish it connected better with the cord. I've actually made a video about that in the past and it always drops the connection, so you can't record and stop from the gimbal. You have to do it from the camera, which isn't a big deal. I'm finding myself using this a little bit more than I used to. I used to only use it for like 2 or 3 shots a day, but now I'm actually throwing a 35mm on it for a bit of the portrait session to get some cool walking shots and stuff. Although I am this season hopefully going to start using it a little bit less again because I actually really hate carrying it around all day. Obviously it's a long day at a wedding and the less you need to do carrying around the better. And then finally tripods and stuff. I have 2 of these ProMaster tripods I use during speeches and ceremony. They're inexpensive. They've lasted me like 2.5 years since I bought them, I think. And I mean, they've had some running repairs. This one's got its foot held on by gaff tape, but they mostly do the job as they should do. And I also have a monopod, which I'm filming this on now. It's basically the same. It's just a ProMaster one, which I think is an Australian brand and it's cheap. I do have a Manfrotto fluid head on that one though, because the fluid head that came with it was rubbish. But yeah, they're the main camera stabilizers that I'm using. And then I also have this nice leather, it's like a Holdfast moneymaker, but it's actually made by a company called Desired Leather, which is based in Moldova. It's all handmade and you can actually get, I don't know whether the camera will pick that up or not, but you can actually get your logo printed in it and it doesn't cost you any extra. I think this was only about 200 Australian dollars, which is not expensive. And it allows me to carry my 85 and my 35 with me pretty much the whole day without like actually having to carry them. And it saves my back a lot because I used to carry a shoulder bag with these different cameras in and I'd switch them out all the time. And that was like putting a lot of pressure on my shoulders and I was ending up after last season with quite bad back pain. And this has basically stopped that completely. And then I guess the final thing to talk about is bags. So apart from the light bag, which has all the lights, which I've already shown you, I also use this one here, which is the Tenba Rody Roller 24. This is bigger than carry-on size for an airplane, but it does have like quite a lot of room inside it. I have made a video just on this bag before, so if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link on one of the sides. But it carries all of this gear and still has space for some more, including all of my camera batteries and things like that. So it actually is a lifesaver, this bag, because I've only got one big bag to roll around. Previously, I was carrying a backpack and a shoulder bag and a light stand bag and a light bag. But yeah, even on the side here, there's a pocket which allows you to put all your tripods and light stands and things like that in. And I can fit pretty much everything in there. I think I basically need to hold the gimbal in my hand as I'm walking. The other really good thing about this is I have my drone gear in here. So if it's looking like a nice drone thing, I can just pull that part of the bag out and run outside and take some drone shots, put it back in. So yeah, love that bag. And the other little bag that I use is actually just a little Peak Design field pouch, which I have on me during a wedding day. And inside I normally have like your lavalier mics. I've still got a lavalier bag in there. I've got my lavalier mics in there as well as a bunch of batteries. And that way if I need to quickly mic somebody up or change a battery, then I already have everything on me. And I should mention with the cards that I use in the cameras, I'm using 256GB cards, so I don't need to change them during the day. So yeah, guys, that's everything that I'm using on a wedding day in 2022. It's a lot of gear, but I do use all of it on a day. So I've tried to condense all my kit down so that I'm only bringing stuff with me that I actually use. And I've found that it has actually helped me a lot in my filmmaking, so I'm not having to worry about like setting up 5 different lights around the reception venue. If I've just got one big light that I know that I need to set up, then it saves me time, which means that I can actually capture more for the couple. So I hope you guys found that useful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. I've got lots more Panasonic content coming out in the future, as well as some more travel content as we continue to do our build in Bali. And yeah, we'll catch you guys in the next video. Bye.